Hi, this is Don down at Antiques, Uniques, and Metaphysics. And we got a letter from Cassandra in Oakdale. And Cassandra says, Shaman Don, I've become fascinated with out of body travel and was wondering if you could give me some tips on how to practice that. Thanks, Cassandra. So, yep, there's some things that we can talk about when it comes to out of body travel. Um, Of course, there's been some things written on it. You don't find a whole lot of books on it, though. We have a hard time even finding books on it to sell in the store. You can find some stuff online about it, of course. And what I say really comes from sort of a combination of a shamanic perspective. I might work in a couple other traditions here, and then also my own experience with journeying, as shamans call it. So, first thing that's most important is you need a place to focus on in order to journey out of body. It's sort of, it's a strange word for it, but portal. Shamans will typically have a tree, like a sacred tree that they've connected with, maybe a spring that comes out of the ground. Normally, it's something in the ground. It could be a grove of trees, perhaps, an area. Um, but that needs to be like the focal point. So when you're working on journeying out of body, you're not just sort of let me go out of body. You're focusing on that place mentally, picturing it in your mind, so that if and when you do journey out of body, that's the place that you go to initially. So when to practice? Uh, it's a good idea to practice journeying out of body. Not when we go to bed at night. That's normally when our sort of system wants to shut down and sleep. If you can lay down though during the day, kind of like almost like nap time. We rarely get nap times anymore, but if there was an opportunity for you to kind of lay down for a while to take a nap, that would be the best time. Not nighttime and not early in the morning, but kind of when you're semi-tired but not ready for bed yet. It also kind of helps if maybe it's sort of rainy, kind of the rain hitting the roof. Uh, that's nice. It creates kind of an ambiance for one thing, but what it also is helping to do is it provides kind of a point of focus. In other words, instead of your mind wanting to wander quite as much, hearing the rain hit sort of enables your mind to focus more. And believe it or not, if you're not feeling real well, that's actually a better time to practice out of body experiences. Again, it's because the self reflective mind isn't quite as sharp. So rather than thinking lots of thoughts, we're kind of automatically not thinking as much. Our brain isn't quite working as well. And that's actually a good thing when you're working on out of body travel or journeying, because again, you don't want the thinking mind thinking too much. As you practice this several times, it's kind of rare for it to happen while you're practicing it. It might actually happen when you go to bed one night, uh, or at some other point. But it might happen while you're practicing it. But more often than not, what you're really doing is sort of building a groove. It's like you're focusing on this tree or springs or mountain or wherever you're focused on. And over again, you're envisioning yourself being there. So to go to that place and to visit it often helps because you can picture it in your mind better. And then when you're practicing it, you're envisioning going there and being there. Uh, so that when it finally does kick in, sometimes it might even be a surprise. You might come out of the experience and go, wow, I was at that tree. It's like there it was. I didn't realize it was going to happen, but it happened. Um, then the next thing is for shamans is, of course, I'm working on a series of books on shamanism, and it has to do with the three realms. Shaman, master of the three realms. And the three realms are basically this realm that we're in. the spatio-temporal realm of people and jobs and all the stuff that's going on. So that's one plane or realm that you can journey into. Another realm that you can journey into is the upper realm, sort of the celestial realm, which can include all kinds of things. I mean, it can include celestial beings, angels, bodhisattvas, ancestral spirits. If you get really good at this and you want to go visit Granny and ask her the recipe for your corn pudding or something like that. I mean, the point is there is this, we call it upper realm. It's not like geographically it's up there, but it's not quite the same as the astral realm, but it includes the astral realm because it is this sort of total non-physical realm. The astral realm specifically is a lot more sort of chaotic. There's no landmarks. You almost navigate your way through that haphazardly with feelings, and it almost takes a lot of shamanic practice to even be able to move through that realm. You could find yourself there, but if you do, then you've got to work really hard at kind of getting back. So, there's always, cautionary measures with some of these things. That's why it's important to have the place, the tree, because if you kind of find yourself out and having a hard time coming back into your body, you focus on your point, right? That tree, that spring, that stone in the ground, whatever it is, and then that can get you back to there. Then that awareness of being there can bring you back into body. So there is the celestial realm that includes a lot of beings. For shamans also, they will venture into the earth. And venturing into the earth is basically a way of encountering spirit helpers, you might say. Normally you venture into the earth. All things that come out of the earth, right, are good things. I mean, water comes up out of the earth. Food comes up out of the earth. Right, the earth feeds us and nourishes us. So normally shamans venture into the earth in order to encounter some sort of spirit helper that can show the shaman maybe a particular plant to use or something like that, what to do with it. So, um, maybe for healing primarily. It's also the case that sometimes, because you're wanting to enter sort of a trance-like state, so if you don't want to like beat a drum while you're trying to journey out of body, but if you had somebody else doing that, or if you had a CD that was sort of shamanic drumming, maybe even flutes or something like that, that can actually help because it brings up certain energies. Again, it kind of creates a cocoon of sorts for you to kind of be inside of. Those rhythmic beats, especially, kind of enable you to journey out of body. So that can help as well. There are a few different techniques to work on too. So one of the techniques is lucid dreaming. So a lot of times we practice journeying out of body perhaps, and we just go to sleep. Even if it's during a nap during the day, we just go to sleep. We're laying down. I want to journey out of body. I'm picturing my tree and just go to sleep. So practice, when we dream, and you may be one of those people that doesn't dream much or don't remember your dreams, but when we dream, we tend to dream in a couple of different ways. One is we're almost like eyes looking out at things, right? We're almost a disembodied, you know, observer of stuff going on. Sometimes we're actually in the dream, like there I am over there driving the car, which is sort of a weird phenomenon, isn't it? But more often than not, we are this sort of observer of things going on. But when I say disembodied observer, that's kind of the way it is. It's kind of rare for us to see our bodies, to look at our bodies in a dream. So one of the techniques it's called seeing your hand, and it's to help you become lucid during your dream, to be aware that you're dreaming. So seeing your hand before you go to sleep, before you take your nap, again, you might be focusing on, the tree you want to go to, for example. But one other thing to focus on is, all right, if I go to sleep, I want to bring my hand up and see my hand. And that'll remind you that you're in a dream. And if you do that every night before you go to bed, it's like, okay, tonight when I sleep, I'm going to see my hand. And it'll be like, oh, I'm dreaming. Let that be the cue to kind of let you know that you're dreaming. Once you know you're dreaming, it's actually easier then to journey out of body. You become aware of yourself, right, as not an embodied being, but already in a dreamlike state, but you're aware of it. So then you would focus on your tree or whatever your sacred spot is and journey to that spot. Another technique, this comes out of the Hindu tradition, actually, it's called the fourth. That's pretty cool, ain't it? Is if you think about being awake, being in a dream state, right? We just talked about lucid dreaming, sleeping without dreaming. I mean, those are sort of the three normal modes of consciousness. I'm awake, I'm asleep and I'm dreaming, or I'm asleep and not dreaming, right? There is this fourth. And the fourth is you have to become lucid first. And then again, that lucidity, that awareness that you're dreaming, can sometimes enable you to focus on your spot and go to it. This is actually a higher developed technique. It's to become lucid, to be self aware in a dream, but then to let go of all of the dream content. So, a lot of times when people practice lucid dreaming, they're able to conjure up whatever they want to conjure up, right? Because they're aware that they're dreaming. So, it's like, ooh, let me have an ice cream cone. There it is. And you kind of get. Now, normally lucid dreaming doesn't last long. You become aware of it, you can kind of do something, then all of a sudden you forget again, and you're back into a dream. The fourth is becoming lucid, becoming aware that you're dreaming, and then losing the content of the dream. And now, what are you? You are just that true self. You're just that consciousness. There's no waking content. There's no sleep content, like in the dream. There's not a lack of awareness, like when you're dreaming and, or sleeping and not dreaming. There is simply awareness. There is simply consciousness. At that moment, you can work on something that's called consciousness displacement. Now, consciousness displacement is different than journeying. It's similar, but different. So journeying is sort of our spirit body, our astral body, as it's called sometimes, literally goes to places, right? I want to go outside and see what's outside. It's like, all right, there's 3 cars parked out there, and here comes a car down the road, and then maybe when you come out of it, you go try to verify some of that. It's like, ooh, I saw those cars when I was, journeying out of body. The point is, journeying out of body is literally something within you, you might say, the spirit body, astral body, leaving the physical body and journeying somewhere else, such that somebody could potentially even see your spirit body, could see your astral body. So in other words, if you kind of journey, this isn't quite bilocating because you're not there physically. That's another topic. But somebody could potentially see your spirit body. It might appear like you're fully embodied, but you might not be. Sometimes it just might appear like almost energy. And somebody might even kind of feel like, I thought I saw you today. Like I was pulling into Walmart and it's like, I felt your energy and I kind of saw you, but all of a sudden it wasn't you, that sort of thing. Now, consciousness displacement is different from that. If we are truly one with the consciousness of the universe, if that's who we really are, then that consciousness is all pervasive. It is in all time, in all space, at once. So if you think about it in terms of spatiality, can I be aware through that higher consciousness, you might say, of what's going on somewhere else? Can I visually see the cars that are parked outside? I'm not journeying out of body to see them, but it's almost like I'm standing on top of a building now, and I can see everything around me. And it's like, imagine the highest building in the universe, and you're seeing the entire universe and can be aware of it. And again, not even spatially, but temporally. In the year 200, right? In the year 2974, or whatever it might be, right? That all pervasive consciousness of the universe. So that's called the fourth. And you can move into that again if you become lucid in a dream, lose the content, have the self awareness that I am that consciousness. And then if you want to be conscious of anything or everything, whenever, wherever, you could attain that consciousness. Some of these abilities you are able to get good enough at to where you can just kick into it. Maybe if spirit is guiding you into that, maybe on your own it might be more difficult. But to have the ability to allow spirit to allow you to see those things or to be in those places. And for a shaman, it's always spirit who dictates. So let me give you one final technique, and we'll call it a wrap. Laying on your back into bed and putting your arms up like this to where, you're laying down, your arms are up, and you're trying to just relax them and get them at this balance to where if you was to fall asleep, your arms would almost stay right there. So as you're trying to get there, you'll notice like your hands kind of leaning that way. All right, I got to pull it back a little bit. Okay, now this one's kind of pulling in. I got to move it over. And that's pretty good balance. If I go to sleep, they just stay right there. Like, wow. That edge, right? That moment to where you work on that and are feeling that is a moment when you can journey out of body as well. What all kinds of things can you encounter when you're out of body? Again, there's the celestial realm, there's the earth realm with its energies and elemental allies and things like that. And then there's the stuff in this realm. So traditionally, shamans would journey out of body in this realm to maybe tell the chief, where the buffalo went. Buffalo left in the middle of the night. Where'd they go? They'll journey. They're like over 2 mountains down. They found a new, river or something. 2 mountains over that way, west. So, or is the enemy coming? Are they approaching? Right? You journey out of body. Yep, they're coming from the northeast. They're on their way. They should be here in about a half a day. Right? Journeying to see what's going on in this realm. The celestial realm, typically, shamans will venture there for higher wisdom, spiritual guidance for themselves, ancestral guidance. Also, maybe to make allies with certain celestial beings, lesser gods, an angel, a bodhisattva, something like that. That if push came to shove and the shamans got to maybe work on an exorcism or something like that, and they're working with some kind of negative, maybe evil, demonic, entity, that they can gain assistance from something that is beneficent, to help them with that. So you develop maybe a relationship with a specific celestial being. And then again, normally journeying into the lower realm, the earthly realm, for sometimes advice or sometimes particular plants or things like that, other things as well, but primarily for the purpose of healing. So this is just a few ideas. I didn't want to go into too much of a historical perspective and all that business, but there are techniques you can work on for journeying out of body. The main thing is to have a place to go. So it's sort of your sacred spot. And then from that place, right, you can venture to wherever you need to. So if it's a tree, you move into that tree even and go down into the earth or go up into the celestial realm, or even from that tree, you travel wherever you need to in this realm. But you got to have a place to go. If you don't have a place to go, you're lost anyway. And again, the more you practice sort of building up that envisioning the tree, envisioning the tree, envisioning the tree, before you go to take your nap, before you go to sleep, even at night. Seeing the hand, if you want to work on that technique to become lucid during your dream, that's sort of a different avenue towards it as well. This technique's a good one too. That's one that was always good for me. Pam saw me doing that one night. She was like, "Wow, what the heck's going on, man?" I'm like, "Ooh!" So it's like I had to explain that to her. That was real early on in our relationship. Uh, I don't do that quite as much anymore, but again, there are those different techniques. And if you got any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to send a message to us, AUM, to our inbox, and I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Um, it's not all sunshine and roses, as they say. You venture out of body. If you encounter, if you happen to have, it's one of the five uh, obstacles. It's the fifth one is an adversary. And if there is what you might call like almost an evil shaman that has the ability to somehow figure out where your spot is, where your tree is, right? It needs to be secret. Uh, you could potentially venture out of body and they could actually kind of seal that up and you'd be like lost, right? You wouldn't be able to get back in your body again. You could encounter entities that you might not want to encounter, right? That could actually bring harm. Um, So, you have to ask yourself the question, why are you wanting to do it to begin with? For shamans, after you go through an initiation ceremony and become a shaman, because Spirit says, I want you to be a shaman, uh, it's all about Spirit working through you, primarily for teaching, for counseling, for healing, um, all of those kinds of things that shamans do. Um, but it's always guided and directed by Spirit. So while it might sound fun to want to work on out of body stuff, if you're just doing it for fun, that can be problematic. If you can envision yourself as working towards helping others, um, bringing about balance, of goodness in the universe that balances, counterbalances, you might say, the evil that's out in the universe. Shamans consider themselves spiritual warriors, fighting to maintain that balance, trying to promote goodness and health and well-being and healing and all those things. There almost has to be a purpose and a place, right, and a reason to do these things. And if it's just experimental, you can end up getting into trouble that way. So you got to have a good reason, and you need Spirit almost to move you into these experiences. Um, so again, if you got any questions, you can send us a message to the inbox, and I'll be glad to talk to you about whatever questions you got. So in the meantime, y'all take care. Thanks, and thanks for Cassandra asking that question. Wow, that's a doozy. All right, y'all have a good day. Bye.